Hey guys, it's Daniel here, finally here to talk about my thoughts on episode 2 of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, titled Gone. Now, I'm sorry this video is pretty late, very late, and, because I've been pretty busy this week, and on top of that, I had to put up a desk for one of my family members, because, I wanted to do, something nice, so I gave them a desk, and it took me a while, so I've been pretty busy, and on top of that, I think I might be busy this weekend too, so I'm wanting to get videos out, so I feel like in order to get this video out as best as I can, I might have to do very few edits to the dialogue, so whenever I make a little slip up, I may or may not do edits on that. I mean, I will do edit if I say something that takes me a while to say, but for now, let's just go through the video. But, of course, I'm not going to miss out the opportunity to talk about my thoughts on episode 2 of The Ones Who Live, because just like last episode, this was a fantastic episode. So, let's talk about it, shall we? So, I'm pretty sure the biggest thing that we've all been wondering before this episode came out is, when are we going to get a episode on Michonne? Because, well, we haven't exactly gotten a Michonne-centric episode, well, since she left the main show in Season 10, Episode 13, titled What We Become. However, she did make an appearance at the end of the show with, like, a little cameo in the finale of the show, and now she's here, and wow, this episode was a fantastic episode, and I will say it's great to see Denai Guerrera back as Michonne again, so let's talk about the episode, shall we? So, like I said, this is a Michonne-centric episode, and it basically follows her adventures trying to find Rick. So, she's basically catches up from where we left off, because by the time she left the show, she was helping 2 survivors make their way through like walkers and all that stuff to make it to their like giant camp, and their camp is pretty much like a road trip camp because it makes its way on the road and never stops, and that's kind of a problem with its leader because she has the rule of not stopping for any survivors, including ones that they have, so they just have to catch up, including her own sister, which, not gonna lie, pretty messed up when you think about it, but she is kind of controlling and kind of needy and all that stuff because she's trying to convince Michonne to stay here with the camp, but Michonne insists that she has to get a horse in order to go find Rick Grimes. And the 2 survivors that she saved at the end of the show were Aiden and Bailey, and then later on we meet another friend of theirs called Nat, and Nat is kind of like the comic relief of this episode, and not to the point where he's annoying, because he was very endearing. He had very funny quips, he had quick timing with his lines, he had some great advice to say to Michonne and all the other characters, and he always had an upbeat energy no matter what dangerous situation that they're in. I really liked Nat. It was a shame by what happens to him later on, which I'll get to later. But Nat was just a very endearing character. So all 4 of them basically get their horses and make their way through the walkers. Now, this giant batch of walkers are the same walkers that Michonne was running towards at the end of the main show, and while you can tell the quality difference, I'm so surprised that they managed to get all of these people here for a cameo as walkers, because, man, you can really feel the budget about this. I mean, you see Denai Guerrera, and she's standing in, like, what bajillion walkers and people? Like, man, they must have had to use a lot of money to pay all those extras, and I will say the budget definitely showed off. So she tries to get her way through the walkers by shooting this, like, launch thing, which doesn't really work too much. I mean, she tried, but didn't work too much. But luckily, Nat had this, like, nuclear kind of thing where he could blow up, like, these 2, gas places and blow it up, and when they blow up, it's like this giant purple fire, which, not gonna lie, I don't think I've seen something like that in a Walking Dead show before, but it looked amazing, and luckily it helps the walkers go separate ways and clear a path, make way for Michonne. So Michonne, Bailey, Aiden, and Nat make their way, and they all try to, like, keep cooperation with each other and communicating with each other about their past lives or their past traumas or Michonne talking about how she spent all this time trying to find Rick, and I will say, it was pretty nice to see some of these characters just hang out. It was very, like, relaxing, and also gave us some depth into these characters. And these new characters, I was really, really endeared by their story, and I wanted to see them make it out alive. And since we talked about that, let's address the sad thing in this episode. So basically, they make their way to a city with a few other people as well, and I think it was like the whole, pretty much, either many members of the camp that Aiden was a part of, or everyone in the camp, I'm not entirely sure, but they do have people with them. They make their way through a city, and they are caught by a CRM helicopter. A CRM helicopter with the 3 rings on it launches over the city and drops, like, this, like, bomb of gas upon them, and it explodes, and the gas starts spreading through the city and through the people. And man, you could tell that the power of the CRM is strong, because they literally took out a whole camp of survivors in just one little swoop, and wow. And it ends up causing many members to die, and unfortunately, Aiden and Bailey, the 2 survivors that Michonne helped in Season 10, and who she's helping now, unfortunately get themselves dead by the gas. They start choking, they start like, and they start to fade away and start to pass away, and Michonne is struggling to breathe as well, because she was sort of caught by the gas, and it was pretty sad watching them die, and it was kind of unsettling seeing Michonne gasping for air and struggling to breathe and struggling with her strength. And it was really heartbreaking to see Nat go through the same thing as well, because he's like one of the nicest people. We don't want to see Nat like this. Come on. So, unfortunately, Bailey and Aiden die. Rest in peace to those characters. They were pretty likable. And now it's just Michonne and Nat, and they both talk about it. And one of the main things Nat is talking to Michonne about is, do you think it might be best to just go home, and while still believing Rick is alive in spirit? But of course, Michonne loves Rick so much, she doesn't want to give up. She wants to keep going to save him and find him. And Nat, it doesn't make Nat come off as, like, unlikable, because, honestly, I can see kind of where he's coming from, but at the same time, we all know Michonne much more, so of course we want to be on her side and go out to save Rick, and also, we know Rick is alive because we've seen him, so of course we'd want her to go find him. And let's talk about one of the best scenes in this episode, in terms of, like, the acting and the performances. So, Michonne and Nat come across this, like, pile of dead bodies, and Michonne is like walking through the bodies, and I believe that she's trying to see if Rick is one of those bodies, because if she doesn't find a body, then Rick's not dead. But they spend the rest of the day doing it, and they camp out at night, and around the campfire, Michonne talks about how it's been so long. Has she been following, like, a hallucination the whole time? Has she been going where her mind tells her to go instead of accepting reality? And Nat looks at the phone that Michonne found that Rick sent her, that has, like, the Japanese message. I believe it's Japanese. And he says, you know what that means? Believe a little bit longer. And, oh my god, Denai Guerrero's performance in this scene was amazing. I mean, I'm wanting to become an actor, but I have no idea how someone could, like, cry at the instant, like, on command. Like, she must be thinking of something to make her cry on command, because, god, those tears, they look real, and her, like, God, she looks so emotional in that scene, and Denai is just fantastic, and Nat comforts her, and it's one of the best scenes for Denai Guerrero for Michonne I've ever seen. Along with the next one we're about to talk about, so let's address the elephant in the room in this one. So, Nat and Michonne make their way through a forest, and they come across another CRM helicopter, and of course, in revenge, they were like, we're gonna shoot that baby right down. So Nat gets out this, like, rocket launcher that Michonne was using, I believe, to distract the walkers, and he shoots one into the air towards the helicopter and goes through the window, which means that Donald Okafor from the last episode, died because Nat shot that missile at him. So Nat was the one who killed Donald. A likable character killing another likable character. I don't know how to feel about that. Anyway, Nat shoots another missile, which also makes the helicopter go down. So we basically caught up to where Rick was going through the last episode, where he's on the ground, and Michonne is killing multiple CRM soldiers in retaliation and revenge for killing her own people, and she makes her way to Rick, kicks him down. She's remembering flashbacks of when she was with Judith or when she was with Rick in season 7, and she takes the mask off, and there he is. She sees Rick's face. And now we get to see the full reunion in detail, and I'm not gonna lie, that did get pretty emotional, because Andrew and Denia's performances felt real, and they just come at each other, and it's something that we've been waiting to see for a long time. And honestly, for a long time, I actually felt like maybe we won't get it, because, well, they've been away from each other for a long time. I don't know if we were ever going to get it, and not because I didn't believe we would, but because, like, man, we won't get that for a very long time. Turns out it came out sooner than I thought, and I thought that this reunion was so satisfying. They come to each other, she says, "I found you." And I like how one of the first things Rick asks her is Judith alive? Because he wants to know immediately if his daughter is alive, and she says yes, she's alive. And they kiss, and just seeing them being a couple together again, just, oh, it warms my heart every time. But then their reunion has to cut short because the CRM are on their way, and Rick tells Michonne, "Pretend you're somebody else. Don't let them know that you know me. Just pretend to be someone else, and I promise you I will find you and we will get away." So they're planning to escape the CRM, and unfortunately, Nat does end up dying. So, okay, here's what I will say. I don't like the fact that they killed him off. I mean, not because the death scene was bad. I mean, the death scene was well done. The actor who played Nat did a fantastic job, convinced me that he was dying, but why kill one episode characters that are already almost just as good as Michonne and Rick? Like, oh my god, why would you kill them in one episode? I mean, granted, we have seen one episode deaths in, like, Fear the Walking Dead, but honestly, I will say this, the Ones Who Live handled it much more better than Fear the Walking Dead, because Fear the Walking Dead, yes, it had one episode characters that die in the same episode, but do you really remember any of those characters? Like, I don't remember, like, what was in season 5, episode 10 or 9 or all these other episodes. Like, I don't remember some of these characters. I mean, I remember one or two, like Paul or Ali, but what is the rest? Here, you really get to know these characters, and you want to make them out alive, so it's pretty sad to watch them die, so I felt like that this show handles it much better. So, Nat dies, Rick kills the soldier who killed him, and there's that. So, sad, pretty sad to see Nat dying. So, Rick and Michonne start to make their way through the forest, and basically a CRM helicopter is about to come up, so Rick has to tell Michonne, tell them your fake name, don't say what your real name is, and don't call them walkers, I call them that. We will get away, and, oh man, another line from Andrew Lincoln, "I love you." So, wow, that was fantastic. And I love how this shot of the helicopter coming down towards Michonne is meant to be like kind of a reflection of when Rick was having the helicopter coming down to him at the end of the main series, and it cuts to Michonne smiling, just how that scene cut to Rick smiling, and she's smiling knowing that she found her love, and she and her love are about to get away together. So I love that. And basically, we cut to Michonne at the CRM. She's talking, she's pretending to be someone else, and she's talking about how she was pretty scared and all that stuff, which, honestly, we know because, we don't know because, you know, she's pretty fierce, so she's obviously making that up. But I really don't, okay, I like it because it shows how much of a douchebag the CRM is, but I don't really like it because, well, that's a very douchey thing to say. That's pretty much evil. This woman talks about, like, oh, our city is secured, and our security matters so much more, so you are not allowed to leave. How do you feel about that? The way she said it, just, oh, you smug, you snobs, you booby patty old bums of snobs. Like, oh my gosh, the CRM, like, I thought that saviors were such idiots and selfish imbeciles. So, Michonne gets, like, that jacket that Rick has when he was clearing out walkers at the CRM, and they make their way into a secret part of the CRM where nobody can see them, and they start kissing, and they are talking about how Rick's arm situation, where he's like, oh, this happened a few years ago when I was trying to get away, and Michonne asks, one of the last times? Well, can we stop the CRM? And Rick's like, no. And I can see where Rick's coming from, because this is like when Michonne was trying to convince Rick to fight the Saviors, but this is not the Saviors. This is a new kind of enemy, so they can't really risk a fight on it. And it's just two of them, because with the Saviors, they had a whole community. Now they're just on their own. So, yeah, pretty hard not to not fight the CRM. But Rick then asks, like, is Judith okay? And she's like, yeah, she's okay. And, what is it, Michonne? Nothing, Rick. You really can tell that she was just about to talk about RJ in that scene, but I understand why she didn't in the end, because it would get Rick emotional, and she needs him to stay strong in order for them to escape the CRM, so I can understand why Richonne didn't tell him, but I'm sure she's going to tell him later on in the series. So Michonne makes her way out, and she goes up these ladders to see the entirety of this, like, military base, and I gotta say, the cinematography in that moment was great. Now, let's talk about the ending of this episode. So, we actually get the return of Jadis in this episode. So yeah, Jadis, the garbage woman from season 7, 8, and 9 of The Walking Dead, and was like the main villain of the second season of Walking Dead World Beyond, has returned, and even more despicable than ever, because she makes her way into Rick's room, like she sneaks into it, grabs a bottle of booze, and she's sitting there, and he's like, oh, hey Rick, I know Michonne's here. I saw her tape. Pretty cute. You found each other. Doesn't fall under our long-time deal. You have to know that if you try to escape with her, I will make sure everybody you care about die, including ones that I love very much. Are you kidding me, Jadis? Like, seriously, like, Rick has given you multiple chances for redemption. He gave you multiple chances during the Savior War to, like, change and join sides, and you literally saved his life because you wanted to return the favor of him saving you, and this is the thanks you get? Like, oh my god, like, honestly, I feel like Jadis really needs to die this season, because she's really getting into the belief of the CRM, and she was, like, willing to kill a community in World Beyond, and just... ugh, like, really? And I gotta say, Pollyanna McIntosh, I do hope you pronounce her name right like that. She did a fantastic job making you hate her in this scene, and I like some of the callbacks to, some of the, like, scenes when she was the leader of the scavengers. Like, she's like, I'm gonna ask you a question, and I'm sorry for my language, but, you know, you heard me talk about language. Yes, yes, yes. Kind of like a reference to how she was telling the scavengers to take Rick up. So I like that. And then we get this moment where Jadis asks, Rick, what the F are you doing? Okay, she says the actual word, but I'm just saying F because I'm not going to swear, but Rick, what the F are you doing? And then Rick gives her that look, and then boom! End of the episode. Give us some more, please! Oh, that was a great episode. I loved that episode. I mean, Denaya's performance was fantastic. Michonne was really, like, we really felt sorry for her and wanted her to find Rick. The reunion between Rick and Michonne was just as good as we wanted it to be. The supporting characters were great, which made it even more sad when they died. And the ending just leaves you want to see more, which we'll be getting to that this Sunday. Now, okay, I love this episode and I can't wait to see more. So that was my thoughts on episode 2. Now, I don't know how busy I'm going to be this week, so I will say this, I'm going to take a break from talking about a Walking Dead Ones Who Live episode next week. But then the week after that, when episode 4 comes out, I will make a video talking about both episode 3 and 4. So you'll be getting that next week, after episode 4 comes out. But I'll see if I can try and let you know what I think of my initial thoughts on episode 3 as soon as I see it, but I'm just loving this episode, I'm loving the show so far, and now that Rick and Michonne have had their solo episodes, we can now see them share equal screen time for the rest of the show, and I cannot wait to see more. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm Daniel, reviewing movies, TV shows, doing videos, hoping to get more videos out soon, cannot wait to see more from Rick and Michonne. Till then, peace out, man.